In this video, I'll be talking about service principle and how we can utilize service principle in Microsoft Power Automate. Now, service principle account is not a named user account. It is an account whereby no user can log into it with a username and password. A Dataverse flow action can be run by a user account or a service principle. Now, which I'm going to show you in the demo. It does not need to be reassigned when a user leaves the organization. Now this is the main important part. Like say when you build any Power Automate flow, what you will be doing is you will be creating the flow in your name, right? And then you will start performing the business basic logic actions, and then you deploy the solution. So what happens whenever a new record gets created within the system? It will all get created with your name. Now if you do not want that thing to happen, and if you want all the account creation or contact creation or any record creation within the system needs to be performed by say some account other than yours, then it is a good practice to use service principle. Now it all depends on the use case and the scenario for which it is suited for. Now one of the benefit of this is like if the person who created the flow leaves an organization, quite possible it may happen that that person's account may get deactivated. So it is always best if you get an opportunity, make use of service principle to update the flow. Now, service principals have the system administrator role and they stay locked permanently with a special type of permanent password called as a client secret. Now, no user can log into the service principal account, which makes connecting with Power Automate much safer than a shared admin account. Also, the service principal is a non-interactive user account for Dataverse or other application with elevated permission. So let's see in action what exactly the service principal is and how we can utilize it. So just to give an example, I'm in make.preview.powerapps.com. So let me go into say tables, and here let me pick up contact. Now, if you see over here in contact, I have first name, last name, email address, and I have enabled one column modified by. So let me go ahead and add one record. So I will add a record. Say, let me add a new row, and I will call this as say maybe Stephen Mark. And email address maybe at the at that point of time I have no idea, so I'll just put it as na. Now if I put na, it will validate and it will not allow me to put that value. So let me call it as say no email at email.com. So I'm just putting some dummy email address, and it has validated, and now it has rightly picked up my user context, right? So Girish Uppal, I've logged in as Girish Uppal, and that's why it has given me this value. But what if I don't want this thing to happen? Like say if I have an application, if someone goes into the model driven app which shows the contact form, if someone adds a record, I don't want that modified by to be myself. It should be someone else. Now, if that is the scenario, how you can simulate that is by using something called as a service principle. So let's go into the Power Automate first. Let's write a simple flow. So new flow, uh, I'll say automated cloud flow, and I will say contact email population. And here I will pick up Dataverse trigger. So when a row is added, modified, or deleted. Now I can pick up added, modified, or deleted, but in this case, I will just say it is just added. So I think I'm not able to add this. So let me save this. Sometimes if you don't get this option, it's better to go back and create your flow. So I'll just go ahead, click on contact, add it. Oh no, I think it's not the one. So let me go back and click on my flows, new flow, automated cloud flow. Let me skip this and let me edit it, and I'll call it as contact email population. And here I will pick up the trigger. Dataverse, so when a row is added, modified or deleted. So choose type when a row is added. Table name, we all know it's contact, so contacts. Scope, organization level, and we'll just save this for a moment. So what should happen is, it says your flow should contain at least one trigger action. So let me put up a simple compose action for time being, just for saving things. Let me put a compose action, click on save, and this flow is now saved. So what I'll be doing is, if someone creates a record, they will put first name and last name. I want email to be no email at email.com. So let's assume this is my business logic. So I'll go ahead and I'll remove that compose. I will say I want update a row. So update a row, which is update row for Dataverse. And I will say for a table, which is contact, and the row ID is coming from the trigger. So just type in unique and contact unique identifier of the record. And here for the email address, let me pick up email. Email address 23 email. Yeah, I've got an email address over here. So I'll just book it as no email at email.com. So what happens if someone adds the record, first name, last name, email should be automatically populated, right? So this is the business logic. So let me save this. And let me start adding a record over here. So let me go to new row, and I will call this as sim green. And I've just put first name, last name. So as you see, sim green, the first name, last name, but it has automatically populated the email address. Why? Because we have ran a flow, and that flow will run and it will automatically populate the email address. So that's what we want. But what we don't want is it should come from modified by my name. It should come from something else, some account like a service principal account. So for that, first we need to create a service principal. Now, how to create a service principal? Log into portal.azure.com. Then you can navigate to Microsoft Entra ID, and you can then so we have a lot of options over here. So manage users, groups, etc. So we have app registration. So if I click on app registration, I'll click on new app registration. So let me see if I have any app registration. So I've got so many app registration. Let me create a new app registration, and I'll call it as, you can name it whatever you want depending on your organization's context. So I'll just call it as app registration 01. Other things, I will just keep it as it is. I'll click on register, and here two things to copy: the application client ID, the object ID, and then there are like you can even create a secret, right? So we'll just create it for time being. Let's go into Power Platform Admin Center and make sure that the flow and the application is currently running on that same environment. So I'm in Girish Dev environment. So let me go into manage, go to environments, Girish Dev, and from here there are multiple ways to navigate. You see something called as S2S apps over here, or you can go to settings, users permission, and then you should see something called as application users. So application users. Now here you need to add a new app user. Now I have already added one of the app registration as you see over here, but this time I'm going to add another app registration which we just created. So new app user, put your business unit. So this is my business unit. Add an app. Now here I will just say app. The moment I type in app, it will give me app registration 01, which I just created. App ID starting with CD9B. CD9B. Yep. Click on add. Now we need to assign the security role. So maybe let me assign a security role of, say, system administrator. Click on save, click on save. Now you can pick and choose whatever role you want depending on your structure of your application and the security model or the security principles which you guys try to implement. But I'm just creating a simple app registration 01, which has security role as system administrator. So it has now been added over here, so I can see this. Now let's use this. So what we want is whenever an item is added, it should use this and not my name, right? So this is the goal. So it should pick up not my name but that app registration. So if you go into the flow, we have update a row over here. Now if you see update a row, if I just scroll down, I can see something called as change connection reference. So if I click on change connection reference, I have an option to add a different connection, right? So I can pick and choose whatever connection I want, or maybe I will just click on add new. Now, authentication type is OAuth. I have an option to pick up service principal. So let me pick up service principal for time being, and I will call it as service principal app registration. This name can be anything, but I'm just associating it with app registration 01. Now here it is asking for client ID, client secret, and the tenant. Pick up the client ID from here. So let me copy the client ID. Let me pick up the tenant ID. So tenant ID is this. And for the client secret, now here going to the app registration. Now we haven't generated the secret yet. So go to manage certificates and secrets. And here you can create a new client secret. So I'll create a secret. I will put a date so that I know when it was created, and it usually gets expired. You can keep expiry as 2 years or put it custom. I will just keep it for 3 months as of now. Click on add, and I will copy this secret value. So I copied the secret value, copied, paste the secret. If everything is perfect, I can go ahead and click on create new. Not now. And that's it. Click on save. Now this flow is saved. Let's go into Power Apps. This time, let's refresh the screen and let me add a new record now. Now, if I go into new row and I will put this as Girish U and save this. And let me refresh this again. Now, if you see, we have added this record kit issue, and the modified by is now app registration 01. So it is picking up the service principle. So it is telling that this record has been modified by app registration 01 and not Girish. So we have made this universal now. So anyone accessing this application, it will automatically updating the email address, and also it will be showing the modified as app registration 01. So what what this particular action has done is it has created this contact with the service principal. Now, this is useful when you are creating any flow. Now, this is not only applicable when you are updating a record set, but say, take for example, if you have a flow. So when a row is added, modified, or deleted, here also you can go ahead and change the connection reference. So if you click on change a connection reference, if you click on add new, you will get that same option for authentication types, service principal or client certificate auth. You pick up service principal, type in the client ID secret tenant, and you will be able to refer to the app registration. So that's it, folks. This is how you basically use app registration in Microsoft Power Automate as a service principle. Thanks for watching.